What's going on, folks? Welcome to STEM class. I know that we're starting a little bit late, and we're also changing it up. Oh, wait. Uh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. What's going on, folks? I know we're starting a little bit late, and we're also changing it up a little bit. I want to get back to teaching electricity, or teaching you guys about the computer science and all of that kind of stuff, but I figured I'd take a little detour, take kind of a breather, because electricity is going to start hitting you hard at the beginning. So I'm going to start hitting you a little bit lightly in this for the STEM, and then it's going to switch up a little bit. We're going to get easier on electricity. Actually, electricity is going to remain hard, but the thing is, by then you'll be used to the style of math, hopefully.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
So I'm putting you into electricity. I know that that's really tough and it's a new topic, so I'm kind of backing off on the STEM as far as like the hardcore technical stuff. And let's talk about energy, because essentially that's what the STEM project is all about. It's all about how energy is used, and I want to go into the history of energy and whatnot. So I actually was able to get in touch with a guy from Pennsylvania State, and he's like a world-renowned environmental scientist, and he gave me a bunch of curriculum from his course, and so that's kind of what we're using to start off with this stuff. So we're going to talk about like how energy affects the environment and what energy is used, and kind of learn a little bit more about like, let's look at the history of this stuff, so that way we can kind of decide, or we can motivate ourselves to really understand what's the point of having a smart grid.
Are we going back into 1/2 mg squared mgh?
No. I figured that since we're doing so much with equations with electricity, that we're not going to do equations with STEM for now, to start.
I wouldn't mind going back to that.
I know you would. I know you would like to go into it, but I'm just saying this. I think that would be fair for the whole class. But yeah, I mean, hey, look, and here's the thing is, if you're motivated to do more, then do more. My job is to support you with that. My job is to make sure I teach everyone to the same level and support those who really want to go, far with it. And I'm cool with either. So anyway, here's your STEM class. The plan. We have the plan, and the STEM plan. This hyperlink takes you to the same exact hyperlink from the electricity one, is because I remember I told you I put the STEM and the electricity plan on the same document.
Yeah.
Cool. So I'm not going to re-go through that and kind of.
So are we disregarding electricity is due today homework?
Yeah, actually, maybe I'll open up the plan and we'll decide what electricity is, because I did want some electricity due today. But maybe that would only be fair.
Maybe like 5, 12, and 17, because those are actually ones you literally just taught us.
All right. So 5, 12, and 17 are. Let's make that due on Tuesday. How's that?
All right. Because those are ones that actually we literally learned.
Right. So like you just learned it now. 5, 12, and 17. That will be due on Tuesday, on the 21st, and then the 22nd will be 20. Or well, let's see. I'll be teaching you on Wednesday, so let's say the 23rd. All right, so let's see. This will be the 22nd. Or 20, did I say 21st?
Yeah.
That's Tuesday? All right, and then this would be... Okay, that's due on the 21st. And then this will be the same thing due on Tuesday. Do that. Alright, and then we'll go 24th, right? 1-24-2014. I think that sounds fair.
Yeah.
Cool. That way you have a chance to, I teach it to you, you learn it, I teach it to you, you learn it, you do the homework on it. That should keep you busy. I think that would be fair. Cool. Alright, so that's me adjusting your electricity homework. Anyway, let's talk about energy. Have you guys had a chance to do the reading, or have you?
I'm in more on electricity.
All right, that's fine. Why don't we just let's go through the reading. We'll talk about it. We'll go through the reading anyway. What you're going to find is when we look at the history of energy and how energy was used, you'll find that the survival of a lot of different cultures really it was super dependent on like how the weather treated them, right? Like if there was a drought, then that civilization died. Like if there was like a bad time for that certain bunch of people, they just either like their population just went down, or their population like really boomed when like there was a nice rainy season. You know, like when it was like after a few years of drought, finally they get the rain back, and then all of a sudden their population goes back, and that's kind of sad, really, when you think about it. Like your life depends on how the weather feels like treating you. You know, during that time, during that generation.
Oh, those you can make like pumps or irrigation systems.
Right, they didn't have pumps or irrigation systems. See, that's the thing is, like, let's go fast forward to like the Oklahomans, right? People from Oklahoma, they had it tough because they had like the Dust Bowl and everything, right? But their population didn't really like just take a dive for the worst. They didn't like all die because the Dust Bowl came. You know, they were able to hunker down and dig deep. And yes, it was tough, but it was much more tough for like the ancient Mexicans. So we'll talk about that. All right. So what we're going to talk about is these guys in where are they? They're in Mexico, I think, and they're the Pueblos, these Indian people. And what they did was they dug into the side of the cliff, and I think it looks pretty cool. And they built their civilization over here.
Oh, that's a city?
Yeah, that's their city. They built it like under the rock. Okay? Pueblos. And so, yeah, what did they do? How did they do that?
Wow.
So here's the thing, is we are so dependent on fossil fuels. Like that's what we use. 86%, and this was from 2010, so 3 years ago. 86% of what we use, how we consume energy is using fossil fuels. So would it be good to like, I mean, imagine if you had to like build your own civilization, right? Would you go and cut down all the trees to make your firewood, and that would be a good idea? Let's do that.
Yeah. Well, what about?
What's going to happen?
Lose all trees.
You're going to cut down all your trees, and that's pretty much what they did, right? So then after that, they go off and they say, okay, well, wait a second. We can burn this thing like coal. That'd be a good idea, right? And that's what we did. That's what we are currently doing. The problem is coal, just like trees are not a forever resource. We can't just constantly be used. It's not a renewable resource. Once we cut down a tree, it takes a bucket load of time for it to grow back. Well, all you're doing when you're burning up coal is you're burning up fossilized trees. So you're still burning trees. You're just burning ancient trees, right? So you guys see the problem here.
Yeah. At one point, they're going to run out.
We're going to run out. So I mean, we need to really try to kind of think about, like, well, what are we doing to ourselves? What is my generation doing to your generation? Is I'm using up all this energy, all this non-renewable energy, and I'm going to stick you guys with the problem.
Nuclear power.
When you say nuclear power, we're only using 8%.
We are.
8% of the power we get is nuclear power.
Oh.
But wouldn't it be better if we used more of that? And that's not renewable, but it's actually, I guess it's considered more of a greener type of energy because it lasts for a long time. You know, we're talking long time. Because we're talking about the radioactive decay of uranium. Right, so.
How long does it take?
I'm not sure what the half-life of uranium is off the top of my head. It's a long time.
But it's still being we're still using non-renewable because you can't. Oh, uranium will run.
Yeah, there's a certain, but I mean, like that is a much more efficient one, because you get a lot out of like 4 kilograms All right, so like an Ohio class. See, like now I'm talking to like
submarine.
you.
They use nuclear.
You what you call it? Sea cadets, right? Ohio class submarine is a nuclear powered submarine. The Ohio class submarine called Pennsylvania was commissioned in 1989. Don't ask me how I know this stuff. Anyway, sit with me. Anyway, an Ohio class submarine was commissioned in 1989, and that was a nuclear submarine. I think they put in 4 kilograms of uranium in that thing. It's been going full steam since, and there's no sign of it ever needing to fill up for gas. It doesn't need to top up. It's it doesn't need to what I mean. It works.
Do you know what brings the submarine up? They could literally stay on there for months. And
I know what it is. I know what it is. It's food.
It's the only thing.
So the fuel for the submarine is all good, but the fuel for the people on the submarine, that's the problem. So that's why you can only stay on for like 3 months at a time, at the most, right? Because after that, then you're. But I mean, like this. So nuclear power would be great. Renewable energy is really good. And for that, we're talking about like biofuels, and we're talking about like wind energy and solar energy. Those are great ones, and we should start using them because essentially we're just burning up our trees. All right. And the problem that we're having is we're burning up all of this old fuel. Like, how long did it take for nature to create fossil fuels for us?
Millions of years.
A long time. And you know how fast we're burning up our fossil fuels almost 1 million times faster than nature can make it. So wouldn't that be like? That would kind of suck. Like, imagine if we were in a restaurant and I was the cook and I was cooking eggs, right? And you were serving 1 million times faster than I could cook. Even if I had like 100 years and I was cooking up, let's make it something that lasts longer than so that way it doesn't. I'm not serving you a 100-year-old egg. But, all right, so I'm making Twinkies, and you gave me a 100-year head start, right?
At 1.0.
And then you say go, and I'm still making my Twinkies as fast as I can, but you're serving them up 1 million times faster than I can make them. Eventually, very quickly, all of my Twinkies will be gone that I had in my surplus, and then there's no way I can keep up with you.
Exactly.
1 million times.
So that's what we're basically doing to our energy.
That is exactly what we're doing to our fuels, right? So what we need to try to do is unfriend our friend. Our best friend was fossil fuels. We need to click the unfriend button.
Move away from them.
Yes. And it's way harder than clicking unfriend on Facebook. Like
we rely so much on it.
Because we are so dependent on it. Alright. So let me kind of go through
I'm
this.
just wondering, how does this all fit in with computer science? This is really interesting. I love learning stuff.
See, the thing is, what I want to do is to learn STEM. I wanted to teach you guys computers because I think that the computers is going to be what controls our energy distribution center, right? Like, what does HECO do? HECO distributes energy.
But they use a computer to monitor it.
They don't. They do use a computer to monitor it, but they don't automate that whole system. So that's why we need smart grid. Because that's what smart grid is. A smart grid is where the computer analyzes the system,
and does it stuff.
And it will be able to anticipate blackouts. And if you can anticipate blackouts and all that kind of stuff, like a computer can make a decision like this, right? A human will have to look at a board and be like, okay, do that, and then do that, and do that. And it takes way too long, and it's not efficient. It just won't work. So I still have to teach you computers, right? So that's why we've been working on computers. I figured, hey, why don't we take a different break and let's say, well, let's figure out why we need to do this in the first place. Like, what's the point? So that's why we're moving over to energy real quick, and we're just going to spend a couple of weeks here, and then we're going to move into the STEM, back into the STEM, into hardcore computer programming.
Good.
Cool. All right. So, these guys from Mesa Verde, the dudes in the cliff that I was showing you,
yeah.
Right?
Why did they make it in the cliff? What was the point?
Well, it's to protect them from the harsh climate. And so what they would do is they would pile their food. All right, so like if you look up, here's where they live, right? And if you look up here, they would put all of their food in a cave above where they live. It's kind of like, what is that?
Safeguarded.
Yeah, it's kind of to safeguard it from themselves, really. I guess it's kind of like putting the cookies at the top of the refrigerator.
So they don't consume more than they can be.
Right. So that it's a little bit tough to get to, so that I don't eat all the cookies. Because I mean, obviously, I've eaten one too many cookies. But I mean, like, I have to go through the process of standing up on a ladder and then grabbing the cookies and then like bringing them down, and it's just too much work. I don't want to get the cookies. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what they did, and what you'll see is there's these small holes in their cave up there, because the problem is the sides of the wall were damp and they didn't want the water getting to their food, so they drilled these holes. But where did these holes lead? Well, they led over to their rooms, and then if you were really thirsty, you could put your cup over there and then have the water drip into your cup, and then you could drink that. And that's quite disgusting, but then again, if you're really thirsty. But see, the point is, they needed these kinds of things because they were so dependent on the climate. That's how dependent they were on the climate. They didn't save their water. They just kind of like, if it rains today, I can drink. If it doesn't rain today, then I have a little bit stored up, but I mean, it's not an efficient system. So these guys, they died off. Actually, a lot of them left. And you can see, we can compare. What we did was we took tree samplings and we drilled into a tree. And you guys heard that, like,
Tree rings and stuff like that.
Right. So tell me about tree rings. What do you guys know about that?
The thicker they are, the more you can tell that year had a lot of rainfall.
Right. So like, if a tree has a very thick ring, then that tree was like, dude, that was a great year. I remember that one.
Thin ones.
That was awesome. Right, and then the thin ones mean like, I don't even have enough to like make bark enough around here, so I'm not gonna, you know what I mean? So what they did was they compared these rings, and they were able to kind of see. They went to the ring or the trees around the area, and then they find trees that were kind of like, burned down or whatever, and then they found trees that were like from the pieces of headboard that they had, or like that they used to build their houses, and it's probably petrified at this point. Well, it's not petrified. It takes a long time to petrify wood, but I mean, it's like really old wood. And they compared all of those, and they were able to kind of make this like history of when it was really rainy and when it was really dry. Cool. And here's what I want to show you is here's this graph. And the green graph for the Puebloan people in Mesa Verde is pretty much the graph of how much rain there was. And what they did was the scientists came up with this idea of like, okay, well, it's not really directly correlated with, I mean, it's directly correlated with how much rain there was, but really it's a graph of, they said, okay, based off of this much rain for this year, and understanding the history, this is about how many people can live there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's the green graph. This says this is how many people can live there. So in the year 1000, less than 250 people could live there. The population couldn't, the environment couldn't really support the population, right?
But more people live there.
So this is how many people actually live there, and then they got this data from like how many grave sites they found, and then they carbon dated them, or I mean. So that's what they kind of said, and so let's see how this purple number matches. So like this purple number is going, and then like they're kind of going along with this, and then they go up. The people go up, but then the rain doesn't necessarily catch up, right? And what happens to the population?
starts to
Well, it has a spike when there's a small spike over here, but then like a lot of people die off. And then like, hey, we've matched now at this point we're at the same population that can be supported in this area. Oh, that's great. And so, you know, the population spiked again and the resources spiked, but then they went through a drought season over here, right? The green is the drought. What happens to the population? It dies down. Like, that's kind of sad.
It's completely controlled by the weather.
Right, right. Whether or not your generation lives is dependent on the weather. So these years, the population goes down, and the people die. It's either they die or they leave. I don't know, but I mean, it's not a good thing.
So that right there was a huge drought from...
So there's this huge drought that's last maybe, what is this? It's like 800 and 1,000, so this is 100 years. So there's a huge drought for maybe 100 years. And the population bombs after that. And that's sad. And then it spikes up, and then it spikes up, and then it goes down again, a giant drought. And then at this point, the people are like, screw it, I'm not living here anymore. I know that we spent all this time, you know, we've lived here for the last, what is this, 1,300? We lived here for the last 500 years, and we built our homes into the rock of the thing, just like dwarves do. And at this point, I'm just like, this place is not even worth it, so they all left. Or died. I'm not sure. Either. But I'm just saying. That's sad. But here's another graph, okay? Here's the graph of how much the oh yeah, okay, the red one, the red graph is the graph of the drought. This shows you the history of the drought. So like over here it's rainy, over here it's drought. Over here it's rainy, over here it's drought.
And then a huge drought.
And you got a huge drought called the Dust Bowl. That's where like there was so much drought that all of the soil turned into dust, and all that dust would get kicked up, and they would have these gigantic dust storms that would just cover the land. You learned this in history class, right? But look at the population of Oklahoma.
Still didn't really drop.
It goes up, and then it's like, yeah, we got a dust bowl, but suckers, we're good. And then it kind of drops. Why does it drop? Because of World War II. Right? All right, so that affects it. Right? And then the population just keeps on going up, even in the second giant drought. But these guys are like, I don't care. I mean, do you see how, like, this graph, the population doesn't really
Do they have
correlate.
1950? They had a lot of different.
So in 1950 to 2000, we have like pump trucks, and we can go dig a well, and that's easy for us to do. You know what I mean? Well, I can't say easy because I wasn't around in the 1900s, and I'm sure that it was hard to dig a well then. You know?
Yeah.
But like, it's not as they were a lot more stable. And why were they stable? Well, because they learned how to burn fossil fuels. You see what I mean? And that's cool, you know? So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about with these people, and how, like, what we've learned to do since then is be able to, like, survive without the climate, governing how we, whether we die out or not. But here's the problem is when we, like, all right, so this guy's from Pennsylvania, so he's talking about, you know, in Pennsylvania, what did they do? Pennsylvania used to have all of these, like, like these furnaces. And these furnaces, what they would do is they would take trees, cut them down, and feed them to the furnace. Well, we talked about this, right?
Yeah.
Like, what's the problem with doing that? Well, you end up running out of of stuff in that area. In order to support their civilization, which used a lot less energy than we do now, a lot less, not even close to as much. But in order to support their civilization, you would have to decimate half a mile, a square half mile of trees every year. That's how much trees you would have to cut down to support this population. Right? This was a low population of early Pennsylvanians. So what did they do? Well, they ended up moving the furnaces all over the place. Why? Because I'm searching for more trees. I don't have enough trees in my area. So then they end up cutting down all the trees. But guess what? We end up finding that we can hey, guess what? We can burn ancient trees called coal, and that will support us. But my point is, what they're doing is they ran out of trees, and why do we have trees now? Well, because they found something else. They found coal, and that was good. That works. And like, if you burn the natural resources that you have, you'll run out of it very quickly. And it's good that we found, the natural gas, the natural resources that we have now, because, if not, we wouldn't have any trees, and that would be very bad.
So is it that when, I'm just wondering, gas prices go up because oil goes up because it's a resource that's running now and it's harder to get, correct?
Well, we'll talk about like the resources of like two different things and how it affects it. I'll show you. In fact, let's talk about whales, okay? So how did we used to get our energy how did we used to burn, what kind of oil did we burn for light at night?
It was whale oil.
It was whale oil. We're not kill the whales. That's what we did. Let's go out and kill us some whales. Moby Dick style, man. Kill whales. And the problem is, you're going to run out of whales, right? And that's what we started doing. We killed a lot of the whales. You'll find that we ended up, killing all these whales, and then we had to, out of the Atlantic Ocean, we had to start going into, Alaska to go find more whales to kill. That's a problem.
Yeah.
So here's a picture of a magazine page from the 1800s, and it's a picture where all the whales are they're all toasting. Why are they all happy? Why are all the whales happy?
Because the humans found some other source.
Because at that point, right, there's oh hey, now we're gonna do oil. So I guess it's kind of like the commercial where they have the cow on the side of the road saying, "Eat chicken."
Oh, yeah.
Right, and then they're all happy, right? Because people are starting to eat chicken and not eat beef, right? So that's kind of the same deal, is right? They're eating. We used to kill all these whales for their blubber, and we would use a lot of their stuff, but we would also waste a bunch of stuff by killing these whales and just killing. We would waste these whales. We wouldn't bring the whole thing back with us and use every piece. But what ended up happening is we found around around this time we were like, hey, we can use something else. So that's good. We have whales now because we burn fossil fuels. Actually, we burn petroleum, which petroleum is actually ancient whales. So we're not killing the whales we have now because we found a whole bunch of ancient whales that we can now burn. That's good. Okay, we're good. We're doing a good thing, right? So here's the thing we were talking about with price correlation. Over here, the red dots is how many men are hunting whales, and the black line is kind of like I'll show you the curve, how that thing works, right? And then the blue line is measuring how much oil actually costs. And you can see things are going good for people, or at least they're going bad for the whales around here, right? And at this point, what happens? At this highest point right here,
They start losing.
at this point you're peaking off, right? You're just we are at the max of people hunting whales, yay! But we can't find whales. And what do you notice with the price?
It starts going up.
The price shoots up. And when does it shoot up? Does it shoot up when things get scarce?
No, so when they start going.
It shoots up when it's at the top, but it's just starting to get scarce. Because that's when people are like, oh, we better save this stuff. So then it shoots up. And that's great. And you would figure that at this point, in around the 1800s, around 1850 something, 1858 or around here, you have the first modern oil well, and that would drop the price down, but it didn't really do that. You know what I mean? And whaling prices around here, this is when I was telling you we had to go to Alaska to find the whales because we depleted all the whales. I mean, we didn't kill all of them. Obviously, we have whales now. But it's not like we're doing it any better, I think.
Yeah.
So, I like this one too. This picture is a sheet music, and I know that you guys are musicians, so I thought it was kind of cool to include this one. And it's talking about the American Petroleum Polka. And you can see that there's like this oil well where there's white oil coming out of the top of it. And like, why is the oil white? Can you guys think of it? What color is oil?
Black.
Kalana?
Brownish black.
Brownish black. All right, fine. Why is the oil in that oil well white?
Because it's pure. It hasn't been touched yet.
Do you know, Sharon?
Oh, where?
See this oil right here? That's not steam. That's supposed to be oil.
Because it's new found oil.
Yeah.
Because it's unrefined?
No. It's because the lady underneath is wearing a pink dress. And if you're a high-class lady, you better not be getting your dress dirty, so they're going to make the oil white.
But that's not how it was.
Anyway, I'm just saying. That's what I think. But anyway, they're talking about, this oil well is through pure oil 100 feet high. And they're bragging about this, right? They're like, look how high this thing is throwing oil. And you and I think, like, that's such a big waste of oil. Like, why are they bragging about that? But, I mean, it was so abundant back then that they were like, look how high this thing goes. Come and see. Let's waste a bunch of oil.
We could
Yeah.
fuel the city for next year.
The oil well is now flowing at 355 barrels a day, and it's probably half of it is going off and just, on the ground. That's it, whatever. So, that's our thing about oil and how we use energy. To be honest with you, my throat is really starting to get sore and my nose is getting congested. I think I'm gonna start finishing up, but I want to talk about lesson 2 because I'm gonna cover about 2 weeks worth of lecture, and then we'll I'm gonna cover about 2 weeks of lecture, and then I'll let you guys get ahead in your assignment. Sound good?
Yeah.
But is this? I'm not going too fast. All we're doing is talking story, really. But are you feel like you guys are learning something? Like this might be actually good information.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing that all right. Here's an example that this guy used, and I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. All right. I don't have any. All right. All right. I have with me a potato chip. And I can eat that potato chip. And what does that potato chip have stored in it?
Oil. Or like.
As oil, sure.
Oil, sugar, starches, salt.
Sugar, starches, salt. That's calories. That's energy. In the form of chemical energy. I eat that thing. And that chemical energy transfers into my body. And I can make mechanical energy and wave hi to you. Got it? Now, what if I take that potato chip and I crumple it all up and I go outside on a really windy day and there's a bus passing by? All right, well, here's my question. I crumple it all up. Okay, it's all crumbs of things. I put it in a bag and I just kind of, there we go. Take the whole bag. You like potato chips? You like them now, right? Now my question is there any less energy in this bag?
You can't destroy it or create it.
No, yeah.
Still
As a
the same.
physicist, I would say you cannot create nor destroy energy. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed, right? All right, so we're good. There's the same energy that's in this now smashed up potato chip bag, right? And you're like, I'll still eat it. That's what Austin would say. I'd still eat it, right? You would still eat it. It's just going to be crumbs, but fine. All right. It's potato chip dust. All right, fine. So I go out. I go outside, right, over on Richard Street, and you got the big buses passing by. And as soon as the big bus passes by, I take all the crumbs in my potato chips and I go like this. Wah! And it goes all up in the air, and it gets the bus passes by, and then you got potato chips kind of going over there, and then as a scientist, I observe the vortex of the potato chips and all of the eddies and the airflow and all of that kind of stuff, and I was like, that's interesting aerodynamics. And then you would kind of punch me in the shoulder and say, dude, you wasted all my potato chips. That was going to give me energy, and I'm saying the energy's still there, right? I did not waste any energy. The energy is still some in this area, in Honolulu somewhere. But what would you say then?
You can't really harvest it and get it back.
Yeah. So energy cannot be created or destroyed.
So all that energy we burned a while.
But useful energy can be destroyed. Energy in its useful form can be destroyed. Like, for example, let's look at a pendulum. And I know you're like, I'm not taking physics where I'm trying to look at pendulums. Bear with me. All right. So let's look at pendulum. Pendulum. There we go. Let's run it. And so I have a pendulum, and I have energy, and I know that you might not know what kind of energy this is, but I know that Austin knows. What kind of energy does this pendulum have right now?
Potential.
It has potential energy.
It's kinetic now.
And as it moves, when it hits the bottom, what kind of energy is it going to have?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, kinetic.
It's going to have this thing that we call kinetic energy. It's the energy of motion. Got it? So if I were to graph it, actually, let me just reset that. I'm going to bring this guy up. So, like, look, see how much potential energy it has? And then it's going to go, I'm going to pause it. Oh, look, it has a lot of kinetic energy, not so much potential energy. And then that thing goes back. And then it kind of goes back and forth. Are we cool?
Yeah.
Pretty close.
Yeah? Ooh, pretty. All right. Now, what is this how a pendulum really works?
No, because it's affected by friction and
Air resistance and all those other
Air
stuff.
resistance, friction. All right, so let's add some friction into this system. There we go.
we'll start to slow down.
There we go. Let's go. Whoa. All right. You know what? Let's add lots of friction. There we go. Oh, whoa! What's going on, dude? Why isn't my thing moving anymore? All right. So what happened? Did I destroy energy?
No.
No, the energy's still there. All that energy that you had in the beginning was still there. The problem is, it is now not useless energy. It's in a form that is not really useful to us, right? Like, where did it go? Well, it went into the air and it heated up the air. And maybe it crashed into something and it made a sound. And sound has energy, so it turned into that kind of energy. And it turned into energy that deformed the thing a little bit. And all of that kind of stuff. But the thing is, yes, I taught Austin in physics that you cannot create or destroy energy. But technically, that's actually, and that is totally 100% true. But yet, as far as usefulness to humans go,
It could be destroyed.
it can be destroyed. We can destroy the useful form of energy. And the thing that we're doing to ourselves is we're taking all this petroleum and all this coal and it's useful energy. It's energy in a form that is useful and we're just destroying it. You know what I mean? I guess if I say, look, you're wasting energy, then technically some jerk can come along and say, I'm not wasting energy. I'm not creating nor destroying it. How am I wasting? I'd be like, you're wasting useful version of energy.
But is it also true to say that it's being burnt to run all this and everything in our daily lives?
It's being burnt to run all of the stuff in our daily lives. Like, for example, you pour gasoline into a car. Gasoline has chemical energy. Gasoline turns that into combustion energy. That combustion energy turns that into motion, right? But when you turn on a car, can you hear it?
The
Can you hear the engine running?
Yeah.
The fact that you can hear the
Yeah.
engine running means that that energy, that sound energy, is not being used for moving energy. That's energy wasted.
Oh.
Does the car get hot? You ever
Yeah.
drive and put your hand on the car?
Oh gosh.
So
The fact that it's getting hot is a form of energy. That energy is not going into motion energy, and so it's being wasted.
Oh, I see.
In fact, cars are so inefficient that I think I almost want I want to quote or tell you something, but I don't want to misquote it. So let's look it up. Efficiency of cars. I don't want to do fuel economy. I want to do how much energy goes into, and I would say, no, I can guarantee, I know this for sure. Less than half of the energy that's actually stored in that gasoline actually goes into making you move.
So big waste.
It's a huge waste. But I mean, it's the best way we have for getting around right now. So, not only are we using like energy that's not it's not very easy to reproduce, but we're using energy and we're wasting it. And really, we're not wasting energy like we're like destroying it, but we're wasting energy in its useful version. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, I think I'm going to stop there for now. But I think that would be. I mean, I feel like we had a good discussion. Yeah. Well, how do you feel about this curriculum, like this switch that I'm going to have? Because I want to talk about like what I really want to do is analyze. Well, why do we need STEM? What's the point? You know what I mean? Sure, I can program a computer. Sure, I can do this. Sure, you're going to teach me about electricity. But why do I need to do this? Because, I mean, that's my favorite question, right? Why the heck should I care?
So everything can be stemmed from that. This is why the reason why we're learning how computers work and operate on a smart grid to be more efficient.
We want to do this so that way we start saving the precious natural resources that we have left. If not, we are gonna. If not, from what I understand, and you know what, I'm not completely engrossed in environmental science, and I just know this from like what my readings tell me. But I was told that like in a couple of generations,
All gone.
we're done.
Is that why they're going to rely more on nuclear and reusable?
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
We better. But see, that's the thing is with smart grid. Sure, your house can now generate solar power, right? My parents have solar panels on top of their house, and they can generate stuff, and they build up energy in a surplus. But the problem is, we don't have a grid that's smart enough to be able to efficiently take the power that they generate and redistribute it to the whole system.
It kind of looks like a change of power.
It's almost like if you guys build up excess, we don't really have a good system to redistribute it. So all the excess energy you build, it's kind of wasted.
This whole thing feels like just like with the ancient, what was it? They relied so much on the weather that dictated their thing. Now we're relying so much on the
Right.
fossil fuels that dictate how we're going to be.
Right. So like what the point we're trying to make is like the ancients they just got screwed by the weather. But then they started burning trees, whales, and all the other natural things that they could easily find, and they ran out of that. But what's came to the rescue? Coal, petroleum, natural gases. Problem that we're having is we're history repeating itself.
Yeah, so now we have to move on to something else.
We better start moving on to something else. And when we and obviously, I mean, you've heard that before. This is not new information to you, right? You've heard that we need to start going into green energy. But what I'm trying to say is that like we need a way to intelligently take all of this green energy that obviously we need to get into and distribute it correctly. That's what smart grid is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
How we doing,
Yeah.
Kalena? Alright.
Good.
So do the readings, do the assignments. I think the assignments are pretty easy. You know what I mean? And the guy is pretty, he's very clear about what he talks about. He's very concise. So watch his videos and all that kind of stuff. And like I said, I'm gonna go on this rant of energy for a couple of weeks, and then we're gonna go back into the computer. But at least now we'll have a fire in our butts to realize, wait a second, this is why I'm learning the computer, because I want to solve this problem. If not, my generation, that's your generation and your generation, and actually my generation, because you're the ones who are going to be taking care of me, is going to be screwed. We're just got it. You know what I mean? Got it?
Got it.
All right.
Aren't I older than you?
Talk to you later. No, I was talking to him, not you.
Yeah, but the fact that you're saying it's your generation means that it's technically mine as well.
Oh yeah, our generation.
You going? I just finished too. I'm gonna head out with you.
And now I feel old.
Thanks.